The computers were gone when I walked in Monday morning. Every single one. 19 years I'd worked at this company, and Wade Phillips had just declared war on me without even having the guts to do it face to face. I'm Garrett Stone, by the way. 47 years old, been with American Shield Insurance since I got out of the Army. Friends still call me Sarge from my engineering unit days. That nickname stuck, because when something's broken, I find a way to fix it. Right now, looking at empty desks where our computers used to be, I had a pretty good idea who needed fixing. "Morning, Garrett," Helen Cruz said as she walked in behind me. She'd been assistant manager here at Legacy Branch for 19 years, practically built this place with her bare hands. "Looks like they finally pulled the plug." "Not yet, they haven't," I said, adjusting my watch band tighter. That's something I do when I'm thinking tactically. Tighten it when I need to focus, loosen it when I've got the situation under control. Let me back up a bit so you understand how we got here. 3 weeks ago, I was sitting in Wade Phillips's office getting what I thought was a routine performance review. Wade's one of those MBA types, 42 years old, climbed the corporate ladder by stepping on people like me. Never spent a day in the field, but somehow he's regional director making decisions about branches he's never even visited. The meeting started normal enough. Then Wade slides these transfer papers across his desk with this smirk that told me everything I needed to know. "Effective Monday, you're relocating to Legacy Branch," he announced, barely containing his satisfaction. Rain was pounding his office windows, fitting soundtrack for what was about to be my professional execution. "That location closes in 20 days, I said, keeping my voice level while feeling that familiar pressure build behind my eyes. "You know that feeling when someone's trying to screw you over and they think you're too stupid to see it coming." Wade leaned back in his chair. "Think of it as an opportunity to enhance your resume before retirement planning." The real reason for this transfer sat between us, unspoken but obvious to anyone who'd been in that strategy meeting a month earlier. I'd questioned Wade's brilliant plan to abandon our blue-collar client base in favor of chasing high-net-worth individuals. Brought data, projections, 15 years of field experience, made him look unprepared in front of the executive committee, and now I was paying for it. Here's what Wade didn't know about me. My father worked at Morrison Manufacturing for 32 years before corporate restructuring eliminated his position. I was 16 when that happened. Watched a good man lose everything because some executive in a suit decided his department wasn't profitable enough. Dad never recovered from that, died 5 years later, still bitter about getting discarded like old equipment. I swore that would never happen to me or anyone on my team. So there I was Monday morning, staring at empty computer stations in what used to be a functioning insurance branch. Legacy Branch sat in an aging strip mall between a vacant storefront and a tire shop that had seen better days. The sign letters had faded to pale blue, barely visible against the morning sky. Inside, the carpet was worn to threads where customers had walked the same path for decades. The smell of old coffee and paper files hung in the air like memories of better times. 5 employees looked up when I walked in that first day, their expressions mixing confusion with that particular kind of dread you get when corporate sends someone new to oversee the end of everything you've worked for. "I'm Garrett Stone," I'd said, placing my single box of belongings on the nearest desk. "Apparently, I'm your new manager." Helen had approached first. Gray-streaked hair, tired eyes, but something solid about her that reminded me of the NCOs I'd trusted most in the Army. Been assistant manager here 19 years. Didn't know they were sending someone new. She gestured toward a small office with glass walls. "That's yours, I guess, for whatever it's worth." The manager's office held nothing but outdated policy manuals and empty filing cabinets. Thick dust covered everything like a burial shroud. On the desk corner sat a stack of customer exit surveys, most expressing genuine regret over the branch closure. That's when I started understanding the complete picture. This branch had been systematically strangled. Technology requests denied for years. Marketing materials outdated. Business development budget eliminated 18 months ago. Yet somehow, this team of 5 was still serving nearly 180 loyal clients who refused to transfer to other branches despite headquarters' best efforts to push them out. Most of our clients are small contractors, welders, family manufacturers who've been with us for decades, Helen explained, showing me performance reports that headquarters had apparently been ignoring. Wade made it clear 3 years ago that these weren't the right type of customers anymore. Let me tell you about the rest of my team, because these people became the heart of everything that happened next. Danny Walsh, senior agent who'd worked there 26 years, the kind of guy who remembered every client's kids' names and never missed a renewal notice. Cole Murphy, customer service rep studying for his MBA at night, trying to climb the same corporate ladder that had just kicked me down. Brenda Torres, commercial line specialist who knew every small business owner in the neighborhood and genuinely cared about keeping them protected. And Randy Foster, who handled new policies and cancellations with the quiet efficiency of someone who took pride in details. Good people, the kind who show up every day, do their jobs right, and get screwed over by executives who see them as nothing but numbers on a spreadsheet. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about my father, about Wade's smirk, about 5 decent people about to lose their livelihoods because some MBA decided their clients weren't profitable enough. But something about our location kept nagging at me. The commercial zone around us looked different from what I remembered. More active. More alive. I pulled out my laptop and started doing reconnaissance, something they teach you in the Army that serves you well in civilian life. Check the terrain, understand your resources, identify opportunities your enemy missed. That's when it hit me. Legacy Branch sat exactly 4 blocks from Riverside Industrial District, the city's massive redevelopment project that had transformed abandoned warehouses into the fastest-growing small business incubator in the region. Over 150 new businesses had moved in during the past year alone, with hundreds more expected, and we were the only insurance office within walking distance. I dug deeper into city development websites, Chamber of Commerce reports, local business journals. The picture that emerged made my pulse quicken in that familiar way, the same feeling I'd get in Iraq when reconnaissance revealed a tactical opportunity the enemy hadn't noticed. Headquarters had commissioned a regional market analysis last year, but like typical corporate thinking, they'd focused only on high-wealth residential areas. They'd completely missed the commercial transformation happening right beside our supposedly dying branch. These weren't just any businesses either. These were exactly the kind of operations that needed comprehensive commercial insurance, startups with equipment to protect, contractors with liability exposure, manufacturers with workers' comp requirements. The bread and butter policies that built insurance companies. By dawn, I had a plan forming. Military training teaches you that when conventional tactics fail, you adapt. When the enemy thinks they have you pinned down, you find the flanking route they never saw coming. Wade Phillips thought he'd buried me in a dead-end branch. What he'd actually done was hand me the exact opportunity I needed to prove what real leadership looked like. The computers might be gone, but the mission was just beginning. At 5:30 a.m. Tuesday, I was waiting when Helen arrived to open the branch. She looked surprised to see me there. Coffee in hand, maps spread across one of the empty desks. "You're here early," she said, unlocking the front door. "Helen, I need to understand something," I said, pointing to the area map I'd printed at home. "How many of these new businesses in Riverside have policies with us?" She followed my finger to the industrial district. "None that I know of. We tried telling headquarters about the redevelopment 2 years ago, but they cut our business development position. Said we should focus on orderly closure instead." That confirmed what I'd suspected. The tactical situation was crystal clear now. This wasn't just about my career anymore. This was about 5 good people losing their jobs because executives were too arrogant to see opportunities staring them in the face. "What would you say if I told you we have 20 days to save this branch?" Helen studied my face for a long moment, then laughed, not the happy kind. "I'd say you're either crazy or you don't understand how this company works." "Maybe both," I admitted, loosening my watch band slightly. "But I'm not going down without a fight, and neither should you." When the rest of the team arrived, I called everyone into the back room. Danny Walsh looked confused. Cole Murphy seemed curious. Brenda Torres appeared skeptical. And Randy Foster just waited quietly like he always did. Before we start processing closure paperwork, I said, "I want to show you something." I spread out the maps and research I'd compiled overnight. City development plans, business licenses, construction permits, everything painting a picture of massive commercial growth happening right outside our doors. Riverside Industrial District, I explained. 150 new businesses moved in this past year. Startups, contractors, small manufacturers. Every single one of them needs commercial insurance. Brenda leaned forward, interest replacing skepticism. "I know some of these companies. They've been calling around, looking for agents willing to work with new businesses instead of just established accounts." "Exactly," I said. "Wade's been so focused on chasing wealthy clients that he completely missed this market, but we're positioned perfectly to serve it." Cole raised his hand like he was still in business school. Even if we could reach these companies, headquarters has already written us off. We don't have budget for marketing or business development. We don't need their budget, I replied. We need to go direct, meet these business owners where they are, understand their specific needs, show them we're willing to work for their business. Danny shook his head. Management won't approve new policies for a closing branch. They've probably already flagged our codes in the system. Then we get creative with processing, I said. We have contacts at other branches who might help us channel applications through their locations temporarily, Randy spoke up for the first time. My brother-in-law works in the Riverside Management Office. He says they've been looking for an insurance partner for their business association. Helen crossed her arms, but I could see the wheels turning. This is career suicide, Garrett. Wade will crush any initiative that makes him look wrong. Helen, we're already dead in this company, I said, meeting her eyes, all of us, so we can either go down quietly or go down swinging. But if we succeed, we might just prove that experience and dedication beat corporate politics. That's when I told them about my father, about Morrison Manufacturing and watching a good man get discarded by executives who saw workers as disposable, about swearing that would never happen to anyone on my team. The room got quiet. You could feel something shifting in the air, that moment when a group of individuals starts becoming a unit with a common mission. What exactly are you proposing? Brenda asked. We have 20 days to secure 25 new commercial policies, I said. If we can demonstrate revenue potential of $650,000 first year, no executive can ignore those numbers. That's aggressive, Cole noted, pulling out his phone calculator. We'd need to average more than a policy a day, which is exactly why we need to move fast and work smart, I replied. Danny, you know customer service better than anyone. What would make these new businesses choose us over established agents? Danny considered this: personal attention, quick responses, someone who understands their industry challenges instead of just pushing standard packages. Brenda, you've got the commercial lines expertise. Can you develop targeted offerings for different business types? Already thinking about it, she admitted. Tech startups need different coverage than contractors or manufacturers. Randy, that connection with Riverside Management could be huge. Think they'd let us set up an information table at business events? Randy nodded. I can ask. They're always looking for services their tenants need. Cole, you're studying this stuff in school. What does the textbook say about rapid market penetration? Cole grinned. Direct outreach, relationship building, and superior customer service. Basically, everything headquarters stopped doing. By lunchtime, we had divided responsibilities and started planning our campaign. While headquarters thought we were processing closure paperwork, we would transform into a business development unit focused exclusively on Riverside District. The plan was simple but risky. We'd run the operation under Wade's radar, using personal contacts and off-site meetings to build relationships. When we had solid numbers, we'd present our case directly to the executive committee. This could backfire spectacularly, Helen warned, but she was already taking notes. Probably will, I agreed. But doing nothing guarantees failure. At least this way we control our own fate. Our first obstacle showed up Wednesday morning in an email from Wade. All legacy branch staff required to attend closure training sessions downtown. Daily sessions 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. starting immediately. The team looked at me, concern evident on their faces. He's trying to keep us busy with corporate busy work while the clock runs down, I said, thinking through our options tactically. Helen and I will attend the training sessions. Rest of you stay here and start outreach. If anyone asks, you're helping customers transition their policies. The training sessions were exactly what I expected. Corporate doublespeak about managing transitions and career development opportunities. Wade made sure to acknowledge me on the first day, settling in at Legacy Stone. Hope you're finding it educational. The satisfaction in his voice just made me more determined to prove him wrong. Meanwhile, back at the branch, our team was making progress. Randy had secured us an invitation to Friday's Riverside Business Association meeting. Brenda had drafted information sheets for different industry sectors. Cole had identified 20 target companies through his school connections and social media research. Danny was working his network of long-term clients, asking for referrals to business owners they knew in Riverside. Turned out, relationships built over decades carry weight when you need them most. By Thursday evening, we had appointments scheduled with 8 businesses for the following week. Small start, but momentum was building. That's when Wade made his second move. Friday morning, Randy discovered our phone system had been upgraded. meaning our direct lines now forwarded to the main customer service center downtown. Our internet connection had developed technical issues that IT would address when resources permit. We were being systematically isolated from company systems. "He's cutting our communications," Helen observed, frustration evident in her voice. "Classic corporate strangulation technique." "Then we adapt," I said, adjusting my watch band. "We use personal phones, work from coffee shops, meet clients at their locations. He can cut our systems, but he can't stop us from building relationships." The team rallied around this new challenge. Within hours, we had established alternative communication methods and off-site meeting protocols. If Wade wanted to play hardball, we'd show him what military improvisation looked like. Friday's business association meeting changed everything. 37 business owners packed into Riverside's community center, all discussing the same problems: insurance agents who didn't understand their needs, coverage that didn't fit their operations, providers who treated them like inconveniences rather than clients. "We've been trying to find agents who'll actually visit our facilities," one contractor mentioned. "Most of them want us to drive across town to their offices. Then they don't understand our equipment or processes." That's when I knew we had them. These weren't just potential clients, they were frustrated customers waiting for someone to provide real service. The mission parameters were becoming clear. Wade had underestimated both the market opportunity and our team's determination to fight for it. By Monday of week 2, we had written policies for 7 Riverside businesses. Small victories, but word was spreading through the entrepreneurial community about the insurance team that actually shows up. Our mobile approach, meeting clients at their facilities, understanding their operations firsthand, was exactly what these business owners had been looking for. That's when Wade escalated his campaign against us. I arrived Tuesday morning to find an IT technician wheeling out our last remaining computer terminal. "System consolidation," he explained when I asked what was happening. "Orders from regional office. Everything's being centralized downtown now." By noon, our internet connection had been accidentally severed during routine maintenance. Our company phones developed mysterious technical problems that would require parts currently on backorder. We were effectively cut off from all American Shield systems. "This isn't coincidence," Helen said as we gathered in what used to be our conference room, now empty except for folding chairs I'd borrowed from the tire shop next door. "Wade's figured out what we're doing." The team's energy deflated visibly. Without systems access, we couldn't process applications, verify coverage, or even communicate with other branches through official channels. "That's it then," Danny said, shoulders sagging. We gave it our best shot. I felt the weight of responsibility settling on me. I'd convinced these good people to risk their remaining employment days on what was looking more and more like an impossible mission. The tactical situation had deteriorated rapidly. We were essentially operating without supply lines or communications. But that's when Randy surprised everyone. "My brother-in-law says Riverside has unused office space with internet connection," he offered quietly. "Management company is looking for ways to support their business community. What if we relocated our outreach efforts there? Without company systems?" Brenda questioned. "What if we went completely old school?" Cole suggested, pulling out a notebook. "Paper applications, manual calculations, collect everything we need for processing, then batch submit it all when we regain system access." The energy in the room shifted. I could see the determination building again in their faces. Or, I added, what if we brought completed paperwork to other branches for processing? Split applications between multiple locations so no single manager bears the full risk of helping us. Brenda's expression brightened. "I know at least 3 branch managers who dislike Wade as much as we do. They might be willing to process applications if we do all the legwork." By Wednesday, we had established what the Army would call a distributed operation. Mornings were spent at Legacy Branch, maintaining appearances and serving existing clients with manual workarounds. Afternoons, we rotated through Riverside in pairs, working from a borrowed office space with mobile insurance services written on a piece of cardboard taped to the door. The setup was crude but effective. We'd meet with business owners, assess their needs, complete all documentation by hand, then courier the paperwork to sympathetic branches across the city for processing. It was cumbersome and time-consuming, but it worked. Word spread through the startup community about the insurance team that wouldn't quit. Business owners appreciated dealing with agents who understood their challenges when the corporate structure had abandoned them. We weren't just selling policies, we were building relationships with people who felt overlooked by the industry. "I've never had an insurance agent actually visit my shop," said Maria Santos, owner of Santos Welding and Fabrication. "Most of them want me to drive to their office. Then they quote me prices based on forms instead of understanding what I actually do." "We submitted 15 new applications yesterday," Brenda reported during our morning briefing, processed through 4 different branches. "And I've got appointments scheduled with 12 more businesses this week." The business association asked if we could set up a permanent information booth in their main lobby, Randy added. "They're willing to provide the space rent-free for 6 months. For the first time since this whole operation began, I allowed myself to believe we might actually pull it off. The numbers were solid. In just 2 weeks, we had generated more new commercial business than Legacy Branch had written in the previous year. But Wade still had cards to play. Friday morning brought an email that hit like incoming artillery. Effective immediately, Legacy Branch closure date moved up. All operations cease Monday. Staff termination processing begins Tuesday. Required branch inventory Sunday 9 a.m. Your attendance is mandatory. I stared at my phone, recalculating rapidly. We just lost our crucial final week. All our momentum, all our careful planning compressed into 72 hours. The team's reaction was swift and predictable. Shock, frustration, that hollow feeling you get when the enemy changes the rules in the middle of the game. "He won again," Danny said, shaking his head, "just like he did with East Branch and the airport location. Soon as we start succeeding, he pulls the plug." Helen placed a hand on my shoulder. "You tried harder than anyone, Garrett. That's more than this company deserved." But I wasn't ready to surrender. Not when we were this close to proving our point. "Sunday inventory gives us exactly 72 hours, I said, tightening my watch band as the tactical options crystallized in my mind. "That's our new deadline for what?" Cole asked. "It's over, isn't it?" "No, it's just changing tactics," I replied. "If we only have until Sunday, then Sunday becomes our moment to present irrefutable evidence to the people who matter." I pulled out my phone and showed them the company organizational chart I'd studied weeks earlier. The executive committee meets Monday morning for quarterly performance reviews. Wade was supposed to present his successful branch consolidation strategy as part of that meeting. "They won't listen to us," Helen objected. "We're the people getting terminated. They will if we present numbers they can't ignore," I said. "And if we do it publicly, where Wade can't control the narrative." "How?" Brenda asked. "Remember that infrastructure announcement Randy's brother-in-law mentioned? The mayor's press conference about Riverside improvements is Sunday afternoon. Local media will be there, along with business leaders and city officials." Understanding started dawning on their faces. "You want to ambush Wade at a public event," Danny said slowly. "I want to demonstrate that his strategy abandoned profitable opportunities," I corrected. "We'll have our 25 policies documented, revenue projections calculated, and business owners ready to testify about the service they received." "What about the executive committee?" Cole asked. I smiled, loosening my watch band for the first time in days. Diane Hoffman's daughter owns a tech startup in Riverside. One of our new clients, Carla Jenkins, has been pushing for small business expansion initiatives. Simon Reed got criticized last quarter for abandoning diverse market segments. They'll be at the press conference, Randy realized. Exactly. We'll present our case where Wade can't control access or spin the narrative. Complete transparency, documented results, public accountability. The room went quiet as everyone processed the implications. "This is all or nothing," Helen said finally. "It already was," I replied. "Wade made sure of that when he moved up our closure date. Now we're just choosing the battlefield." Brenda stood up, determination replacing resignation in her posture. "What do you need us to do?" That question told me everything. These weren't just employees anymore. They were a unit ready to execute whatever mission I laid out. We had 72 hours to document 25 policies, prepare presentation materials, coordinate with business owners, and orchestrate a public demonstration that would either vindicate our approach or end our careers in spectacular fashion. Time to find out what we were really made of. Sunday arrived with that crisp autumn air that makes you feel like anything's possible. By 2:45 p.m., we were positioned at Riverside Plaza, where a crowd had already gathered for the mayor's infrastructure announcement. Local news cameras were setting up, city officials mingled with business owners, and I spotted exactly who I'd hoped to see. Diane Hoffman stood near the makeshift stage, looking uncomfortable in her corporate suit among all the work boots and hard hats. Beside her were Carla Jenkins and Simon Reed, 3 members of American Shield's executive committee, here to witness what they thought would be a routine municipal announcement. And lurking at the edge of the crowd like a predator watching prey, there was Wade Phillips. They all came, Helen whispered, gripping my arm. But this could go sideways fast if Wade gets to them first. I checked my watch, time to execute. Positions, everyone. Remember, we let the business owners do the talking. We just provide documentation when asked. At exactly 3 p.m., Mayor Patricia Walsh approached the microphone to announce a $35 million infrastructure investment in Riverside Industrial District. As she spoke about economic growth and business development, I felt that familiar pre-mission tension building. The mayor concluded her remarks and introduced Jack Morrison, president of the Riverside Business Association. This was it, the moment everything hinged on. We'd especially like to recognize some outstanding partners in our district's success. Morrison began scanning the crowd. In particular, the team from Legacy Branch of American Shield Insurance, who've become vital partners to over 25 businesses here in just the past 3 weeks. Applause erupted as Morrison gestured toward our team. Wade's head snapped up in shock. He hadn't expected us to be publicly acknowledged. In fact, Morrison continued, I'm told they've generated impressive revenue projections that demonstrate the viability of insurance services in our district, despite their parent company's plans to abandon this market. That was my cue. I approached the makeshift stage, portfolio in hand, while Wade watched with growing alarm. Mr. Morrison, we've prepared complete documentation of our work here, I said, voice carrying across the plaza. 25 new commercial policies established, projected first-year revenue of $650,000 with detailed growth analysis for the next 5 years. I handed Morrison the portfolio, then turned to address the executive committee directly. Ms. Hoffman, Ms. Jenkins, Mr. Reed, this documentation includes evidence of systematic obstruction we encountered while developing these client relationships. Hoffman stepped forward, accepting a copy of our findings. For the next 10 minutes, business owners approached the microphone one by one, describing how our team had solved insurance problems other agents wouldn't touch. These folks actually visited my fabrication shop, said Maria Santos. They understood my equipment, my processes, my real risks, not just what some form said I should need. They created custom coverage for our tech startup when every other agent told us we were too new to insure, added Tom Wilson, whose software company had been one of our first clients. Legacy Branch was the first insurance office that treated us like partners instead of problems, concluded Dave Rodriguez, who ran a contracting business with 15 employees. With each testimony, Wade's position visibly weakened. The crowd was hearing directly from satisfied clients about service that contradicted everything his consolidation strategy represented. Finally, Hoffman addressed the crowd. On behalf of American Shield Insurance, I want to thank the Legacy team for their initiative and community focus. This kind of relationship building represents our company's best traditions. She turned to me, Mr. Stone. The executive committee will be reviewing your findings thoroughly at tomorrow's meeting. I suspect we'll need to reconsider certain strategic decisions. As the crowd began to disperse, Wade cornered me away from the cameras. You've made a serious mistake, Stone, he warned, voice low and dangerous. This little publicity stunt doesn't change the fundamentals. I still control your employment status. And tomorrow, you're still terminated. I smiled, loosening my watch band for the first time in weeks. Actually, Wade, that's where you're wrong, because I don't have employment status with American Shield anymore. I resigned this morning. His expression shifted from anger to confusion. You quit. Then, this was all for nothing. Not for nothing, I corrected, pulling out a business card. I accepted a position as Riverside's first director of commercial insurance development, working directly with the business association. The mayor offered it yesterday after seeing our client satisfaction reports. Wade's face went pale as the implications hit him. And our first initiative, I continued, will be establishing partnerships with insurance companies that actually value small business relationships. Funny thing, Diane Hoffman already called this morning asking how American Shield might participate in that program under new regional leadership. I handed him my new business card. Oh, and that documentation I gave Hoffman? It includes detailed records of how you manipulated closure timelines to suppress profitable opportunities, cut system access to sabotage legitimate business development, and systematically abandoned minority-owned businesses to inflate other branches' metrics. Wade's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The board might find that particularly interesting, I added, given the discrimination lawsuit the company just settled. Something about regional directors prioritizing wealthy clients while eliminating services to working-class communities. 3 hours later, my team gathered at Rosa's Diner to watch the evening news. The lead story featured our press conference, with interviews highlighting American Shield's innovative community approach and renewed commitment to small business. Breaking news, the anchor announced during the business segment, American Shield Insurance announces major personnel changes in regional management, with Wade Phillips placed on administrative leave pending internal review. Danny raised his coffee cup, from fired to hired in one day. That's got to be some kind of record. What happens to us? Cole asked, though he was smiling as he said it. My phone buzzed with a text from Diane Hoffman. Executive Committee voted unanimously to establish permanent Riverside location. Regional Director position open immediately. Interested only if you can bring your team intact. I showed them the message. Looks like we're all getting promoted together. Helen shook her head in amazement. 19 years I worked for this company, and it took getting fired to finally get the recognition we deserved. Sometimes that's how it works, I said. Sometimes you have to prove your worth by walking away from people who don't appreciate it. 6 months later, our Riverside branch became the top-performing location in the region. Wade's replacement reached out personally to study our methods. Turns out when you treat clients like partners instead of profit centers, amazing things happen. My team thrived in their new roles. Helen became Assistant Regional Director. Brenda heads our Commercial Development Program. Cole finished his MBA and runs our Startup Services Division. Danny trains new agents in relationship-building techniques. Randy manages our community partnerships. And me? I'm exactly where I belong, serving people who work hard and deserve insurance agents who understand that. Wade thought he was ending my career when he transferred me to Legacy Branch. Instead, he put me exactly where I needed to be to discover my real purpose. My son called yesterday from college, proud of his old man for standing up to corporate bullies. That conversation meant more than any performance review ever could. You know what I learned? The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies, it's succeeding so completely that they have to watch you thrive while their own careers crumble from their mistakes. Wade handed me the tools for my own victory. Sometimes the branches that look dead are just waiting for the right moment to bloom stronger than ever. That's a lesson worth remembering. Sometimes the biggest victories come disguised as the worst defeats. When someone tries to bury you, they might just be planting you exactly where you need to grow.